Rafaelina. Hi, I'm Rafaelina, and I'm interviewing Miss Cornwall. So, where do you go to high school?
I went to Archbishop Prendergast, which is in Drexel Hill, not far from me.
When did you graduate?
1971.
So
yes, that's a few years ago.
What are your most vivid memories from high school?
When I was in high school, it was very crowded. There was a lot of girls, and my high school was next to Bonner. That was the boys' school, and then behind that school was Upper Darby. So it was kind of, back in those days, you went to Catholic school or public school, and people weren't necessarily friendly, although I had public school friends as well, so I was good friends. We walked to school, so these are hundreds of kids all kind of using the same path walking to school. And so there was a lot of interesting things. You know, you got bombed by snowball fights and things like that in the winter. If you were late, you had to walk really fast, so you wouldn't be late. And then I was involved in music when I was in high school, so I had to stay after school for practice. And then, you know, I had to walk home. You know, it was dark and it was cold, and it felt like 10 minutes forever.
All girls?
Yes, Prendergast was like Little Flower. It was all girls. And my music teacher at Little Flower co-wrote Little Flower's alma mater. And she came to Prendergast after she was at Little Flower. She was really a wonderful, wonderful woman. I really liked her. I wouldn't have stayed in the music program if it wasn't for her. She really motivated me.
So what do you do for fun when you were a teenager?
Well, okay. Well, we did things a little bit different than you did. Probably you do for fun. What did we do for fun? Same thing you do. You get together with your friends, try to avoid adults. Have a good time.
Go to the movies?
Went to the movies, yeah. Went to concerts. Concerts were really inexpensive. You would die at how inexpensive concerts were back then. So there was a lot of socializing, a lot of face-to-face contact when we were kids. We lived in a neighborhood where basketball was really a big sport, so everybody played basketball. And,
including the girls?
Including the girls. Now, you played in the girls' league, you didn't play with boys. And back when we played basketball, girls wore jumpers. They were like uniforms when we played basketball because we were ladies and we had bloomers on underneath it. So it was really weird. But when we played informally, you just wore your shorts and your t-shirt.
Can you describe your first job?
I was a swimming teacher. So my first job was lifeguarding, and I was a swimming teacher. And I worked at Lower Merion High School. They had a public pool there. So I taught swimming lessons there. And I taught swimming lessons there all through high school and all through college. And then in the summertime, I would lifeguard in neighborhood pools. And that would be my summer job. And one summer, when I was, this was at an apartment pool, I was getting the pool all ready for Memorial Day opening, just like we had this past weekend. And not only was I the lifeguard, I was like the maintenance person too. So I had to operate the filters and backwash and check the chemicals. And the Department of Health comes by and makes sure your chemical levels and your pH is correct. And I worked really hard. I had to scrub all the lounge chairs for people to sit in. The people at the swim club were extremely demanding, so everything had to look just so. And then the night before Memorial Day, Saturday, kids vandalized the pool. And they must have been watching how hard I was working. And they threw food coloring into the pool. So the Memorial Day comes along and the pool is all red. And I came to work and I looked at my pool and I was horrified. I thought, oh good Lord, what am I going to do? It's all pink. So then I started running the backwash filters and throwing some more chlorine. I figured, you know, I could neutralize it or do something. But here, they used some kind of organic dye, because once the sun came out, the dye broke down. So it all kind of self-corrected, yes. So that was a great summer job. I did enjoy that job because, you know, it was long hours, but you were outside, and it really wasn't hard. And I didn't have a lot of rescues, thank God. Well, what do you mean? I don't really tan that well, but I like to swim. So, you know, there would be hours when people wouldn't be there because it was an apartment swimming pool, but I had to keep it open still. So I would just jump in the pool and swim laps for hours. And you kind of get into, it's kind of meditative when you do something repetitiously. It's very relaxing. So I did enjoy that summer job.
So
And neither was my husband. My husband he also was my age, and he did want to be drafted, but he was rejected because it's very poor vision. So, he was
Better if you did.
and then when I went to college, that was the time when people began to burn their draft cards. So when you got sent for, because you were called in to be in the military, and they started doing public demonstrations. I went to high school and college during the Vietnam War, and it was a war that it was such a high level of life loss. People said, "Why are we there? Why are we doing this? This is wrong." So people really began to be conscientious objectors and to oppose the war in Vietnam.
What was your favorite music group in high school?
Oh, I love the Rolling Stones, still do. And even though he's 70, he still is Mick Jagger's wife. I know he's kind of weird looking, but I love the Stones. Yeah. I also saw, because I told you before, that was our entertainment. Rod Stewart as an opening act for, what was the concert I was at? Deep Purple. Deep Purple was one of those heavy metal bands back in the 70s. And he was the opening act, Rod Stewart. Can you imagine that? He's a big star today. You don't even know who Deep Purple is. So it's funny how things work out.
Yeah. Who was president when you were in your 20s?
Well, the first president, they changed the voting age to 18, at a good time in my life. So the first presidential candidate I got to vote for was Jimmy Carter. And so that was probably like in my early, maybe 19 or 20. I was really excited about it, and this is the most feeble reason in the world. I was excited because he's a very smart man. He was a nuclear engineer, so I liked his science piece, but he wore jeans all the time. So I think that's probably why I voted for him, which is not a really good reason to pick somebody. But he had always been an advocate for world peace, and I think he had good intentions in a lot of levels. He had a hard presidency because that was the time when they started taking Americans as hostage in the Middle East, and it was a very difficult time for him, which I think really formed him as a person interested in peace compromises.
Describe the household you grew in, and did you have like your own bedroom, and what were some?
I did have my own bedroom. I was really lucky. We grew up it was a big house, and I was one of 6 children, and I was the oldest, so that's why I think I got my own bedroom. And it was a noisy household, and people that would stop by, my friends from college, like, how do you study in here? Because there was always people coming in and out, and I would just put my hairdryer on. I had this Bonnet hairdryer, and I just put it on and turn it on cool so I couldn't hear like my brothers fighting and carrying on. And so that's how I kind of got away from it. You have to find something. I mean, they didn't have headphones and earbuds and things like that back then that you could kind of silence out.
Yeah, because that's what we do.
I know. So I had a hairdryer. Great.
Who do you think has been the greatest president so far in your lifetime?
There's so many presidents that have brought so many of their gifts to the office, and I couldn't really name a president. I don't have enough information to really identify them. I admire them all. I really do. Some of them obviously made greater contributions to the history of this nation than others.
What new inventions do you remember your parents buying?
Well, this is how old I am. I tell my chemistry students that calculators weren't invented when I was taking chemistry in college. So I do remember by the time I took a very hard chemistry class called physical chemistry, calculators were invented, so I was very happy about that.
That's bad.
But as a younger child, I remember the first person on our block getting a color TV, and everybody went into their house to see it and to see the TV in color, and it was pretty exciting. I know, isn't that amazing? And now look at TVs today. Amazing. And I still find TV really entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't watch it all the time.
Most of people.
It is, like this high definition TV now, and these flat screen TVs, I'm amazed at how the images are. It's amazing.
Where were you when Kennedy was shot? Do you think Kennedy's assassination was a conspiracy?
Do I think it was a conspiracy? Yes, I do. And where was I? I was playing outside, and I went in the house and my mother was crying. So I was young. I was under 10, I know that. I don't remember how old I was exactly. Of course, I could look at the date and do that, but let's keep that secret. And I remember we all, of course, we said their rosary, because, you know, they didn't initially say he was dead. They said he had been shot. So I believe there was a conspiracy. I don't think there was a single bullet. They said that so many years after the investigation that they would release the findings of what they knew. And I think that window is approaching or has passed. And I wonder why we don't know that. I think wasn't it supposed to be 50 years after his death they were supposed to release the findings of the investigation of the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, that's terrible. And then you saw it televised on TV when they shot the man that shot, when Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald when they were transferring him, I think, from prison to the courthouse. Like live on TV. So you see everything on TV now. You didn't see things on TV
That was a big deal back then, right?
It really was a big deal.
Who do you watch the moon landing with? Where were you?
Well, again, it was in the summertime. It was July, and I was a lifeguard again, and I was at the apartment pool where the kids had turned the water pink. And I ended up becoming friends with those kids, by the way, which is really interesting. They themselves all went to Lower Merion High School. And one of them went, I'm really getting off track, sorry. One of them went to Kent State University in Ohio, and he was shot at when the 4 young people were killed at Kent State. They were doing, remember I was telling you about a lot of political dissidents that young people were doing. So they were protesting the Vietnam War again. And it was such a big uprising of children or young adults protesting that the university called in the National Guard, and the National Guard started shooting at the students. So he was one of the students he wasn't shot himself, but 4 college students were killed in that political statement they were trying to make, which was really, really made people think, like, why are we shooting our own children? Because they're voicing their opinion, about something that they don't believe in. So anyhow, that was the summer I was working at the pool once again, and it rained a lot that summer. And the people at the pool were complaining. They said, it's because we're on the move. This is why it's raining all the time. So if it rained like all day, I was allowed to shut the pool down early. So I was up all night long watching the moonwalk. And a lot of people didn't believe what was happening. They were believing that it was simulated in a TV studio, and they were trying to perpetrate this.
And everything.
Yeah, but it wasn't. And it was so exciting to see that kind of history being made.
So I guess this is the end of our interview.
I think it is. And Rafaelina, you've asked me some wonderful questions, and I hope you get a good grade on your project.
I hope so.
And thank you, Natalie, for videotaping. You were very steady. She's probably